Diving in deep to the world of crypto. You're listening to Vorpin AI.
Okay, so this week we are going to do a deep dive into some of the big movers in crypto.
Yeah, we got Stellar, Uniswap, Solana, Dogecoin, XRP. Whole lot of action this week, so.
Definitely a lot to unpack. We got your report here, and there are some pretty interesting trends in there. It'll be fun to see if we can make sense of it all.
Well, let's give it a shot. Like, what's going on with Stellar? It had that crazy 300% surge last month. Everyone was talking about it.
Right, 300%. I mean, come on. Now it's cooled down a little bit, though. It's sitting at what, like 48 cents or something?
48.79 to be exact, yeah. But what's interesting is that even though it's pulled back some, the charts are showing some bullish signals. Like, it could potentially push towards 90 cents.
Okay, so that's pretty exciting. But your report also mentioned something about declining social buzz and maybe even like a bearish crossover or something.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? It's like Stellar's at a crossroads here. On one hand, you got these bullish chart patterns suggesting upward momentum, but then you got the declining social media metrics, which could indicate that investor confidence is waning.
So which way is it going to go? It's like mixed signals.
Yeah. And that bearish crossover you mentioned?
Right. I actually meant to ask you about that. Can you explain what a bearish crossover is for anyone who might not know? I'll admit, sometimes I get those terms mixed up.
Yeah, no worries. It's basically when a short-term average price line dips below a long-term average price line on a chart. It usually suggests that selling pressure is increasing, which, you know, could push the price down.
So even though Stellar has those bullish patterns, this potential crossover, combined with the declining social buzz, could mean investors are starting to hesitate.
Exactly. It's a classic case of, like, will it or won't it?
A real nail-biter, huh? Okay, so let's move on from the will it or won't it of Stellar to something a bit more. Well, you flagged Uniswap in your report. It's been having a good week, to say the least.
Oh, yeah. Uniswap is on fire. It shot up almost 20% in a single day, hitting a 3-year high of $17.70.
Wow.
It's pretty impressive.
What's driving that?
Well, a lot of it has to do with some recent developments, like the Unichain launch and the Router v4 upgrades. Those are pretty big deals for Uniswap. They're really boosting investor confidence. And, you know, the DeFi market in general is doing really well right now. That's adding to the positive energy.
So everything's coming up Uniswap right now.
Pretty much. But, you know, there's always a but in crypto.
Right. And I think I see it in your notes here. You mentioned some whale activity.
Yep. Some big players have been selling off chunks of their UNI holdings. It's definitely something to keep an eye on.
So how concerned should we be about these whale sell-offs?
It's hard to say for sure. I mean, some people see it as a warning sign, like the big players are getting out while the getting's good. But others see it as a healthy correction, just, you know, a natural part of the market cycle.
Like maybe it was getting a little too hot too fast. So I guess it comes down to, like, how much do you trust the whales?
Well, that and the technical indicators. Even with those sell-offs, the indicators are still suggesting UNI could reach $25.
Okay, so still potential there.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so we've got Stellar maybe stalling out, Uniswap on a tear, but maybe facing some resistance. Let's move on to another one you highlighted, Solana. I mean, wow. It's been on a roll lately, hasn't it?
Solana's been absolutely crushing it. It hit an all-time high of $264.39 recently. Right now, it's chilling at $225.54.
So a little bit of a dip, but still a really strong position. What do you make of that pause in its upward climb?
I think it's just a consolidation phase, kind of like taking a breather after that massive rally. It's natural for the market to do that. But here's what's interesting. While the price is stable, the derivatives traders are still feeling very bullish.
Derivatives traders. I always get a little lost with derivatives. Can you kind of explain that in simple terms?
Sure. Think of it this way. Derivatives traders are basically making bets on where the price will go in the future. So they're not buying the actual Solana, but they're buying contracts that are tied to its performance.
Right.
And the fact that they're bullish suggests they believe the price will keep climbing, even though it's taking a break right now.
Ah. Okay, so they're not spooked by this little dip. They're seeing it as a pause, not a reversal.
Exactly.
So could Solana break through to $300?
It's definitely possible. But like you mentioned earlier, retail participation has been declining.
Oh, right. I saw that in your report. What does that mean exactly?
Well, it means that everyday investors might be getting a little cautious. Maybe they're not as convinced about Solana's future as the derivatives traders are.
Interesting. So it's like we need to watch both the technical indicators and the sentiment of the average investor.
Exactly. It's all connected.
Okay, on to the next one, Dogecoin. The meme coin that just keeps on, well, memeing. You found that something like 60.9 billion DOGE have been on the move in the last day.
Yeah, that's a lot of Dogecoin. And that kind of large-scale movement, often by whales, is usually something to pay attention to.
Why is that?
Well, it often precedes a price jump. These big players are strategically positioning themselves, getting ready for something to happen.
So they know something we don't.
Maybe. And we can't forget the Dogecoin community. They're incredibly optimistic, always. That energy definitely plays a role in its price movements.
They're aiming for that all-time high again, aren't they? I think it's like 73 cents.
Saw point 7376 to be exact. Yeah, that's their target. And with Elon Musk still out there championing Dogecoin,
Right.
it's not impossible. His endorsements have a huge impact.
For sure. Okay, we've got one more to cover, XRP. I got to say, this one's pretty wild. A 12,209% liquidation imbalance. What does that even mean?
Well, a liquidation imbalance basically means that a lot of traders are getting their positions forcibly closed because they weren't able to cover their losses.
Okay.
And that huge percentage means that the vast majority of those liquidations were on short positions.
So people who were betting against XRP.
Exactly.
And they got burned.
Big time.
So that means...
That means the market is incredibly bullish on XRP right now.
Yeah. I mean, that's a huge vote of confidence.
It definitely is. And as you mentioned earlier, XRP is already up over 400% in recent weeks. It's currently trading at $2.40.
So much action. Okay, let's try to summarize all of this. Stellar and Solana, kind of in a wait-and-see mode. Uniswap is up, but facing some resistance from whale activity. Dogecoin has whale activity, but in a good way, and a super optimistic community. And XRP is just exploding.
Pretty much sums it up.
So what's the big takeaway here?
I think the big takeaway is that you can't just look at the price of a cryptocurrency in isolation. You have to consider the underlying technology, the sentiment, the market trends, all of it.
Absolutely. It's a complex ecosystem, and it's constantly changing. Okay, here's a final thought to leave everyone with. We've talked about how individual coins are influenced by specific events like Elon's tweets or these new upgrades. But what about the bigger picture? What global events or economic trends could affect the entire crypto market? Something to think about as we head into the new year.
Definitely. Lots to watch out for.
All right. Thanks for joining me for another Crypto Deep Dive.
My pleasure. Always a good time.